Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you are rejoining. Welcome if this is your first time here. My name is Marissa Price. I am a social worker, healer, business educator, dedicated to creating safe spaces on the internet for Black women to heal and share our real experiences. So, yeah, I'm so glad you're here. Um, so, this live is about understanding childhood attachment wounds in preparation for an upcoming workshop. I am co facilitating with the lovely Angela Kanu. She is also a social worker, originally from the UK, but she lived in Australia, and now she's in Mexico as well. I'm currently in Mexico too. So, yeah, we're going to have this workshop on Tuesday, January 23rd from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And it will center the experiences of Black women. So yeah, I'm excited. Hello, everyone who's joining. Hey, miscellaneous AB, welcome. Mimi Slow Travels, hello. Good to see you here. Yes, and I see Tea Time Beauty comment just signed up for the 23rd. Hey, so excited. We're excited too. We are in the planning stages, so we're getting our notes together, getting our presentation together. Want to make sure that we serve y'all well. And if you can't make the live workshop on the 23rd, from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern. The recording will also be sent out. So there's that option as well. But yes, and I have a new banner on the screen. Happy New Year, by the way. I didn't even say that. Happy New Year. It's 2024. We've made it to 2024. Yes. Hi, Maya. Good to see you. Hello. Yes, yes. Yeah, but I hope your new year is going well so far. I would love to know if you have any intentions or anything you're looking forward to in the new year. If you'd like to share those, I always love to read those. But yeah, I guess we can go ahead and get into the live. And this is just an informal chat. Again, kind of previewing our workshop coming up on the 23rd, Healing from Childhood Attachment Wounds. But I thought it would be helpful to just kind of explain what attachment wounds are for those who don't know. So attachment is just how we connect with each other, right? In all of our relationships, we have an attachment style. And so attachment theory, the main one was really developed by John Bowlby about attachment style. It's really theorizing that how we attach in our adult relationships is informed by how we attach to our caregivers in our earliest years. So we're talking about when we first came here, right? From birth to 3. Is really a pivotal period of development. Hey, Kay. Thank you. Happy New Year to you as well. Lavendula, Happy New Year. Yes, and I just saw you have a YouTube channel. I was so excited when I saw that. Yes, yes. Yeah. Hello. Yes. Hey, Alicia. Yes, yes, yes. Your live yesterday was everything. I was fired up. But yes, yes. Good to see you here. But yeah, attachment is just how we connect to each other, right? And again, John Bowlby was the main person who came up with this theory of attachment theory. So he theorized that our early experiences in childhood shape our development in our behavior in adulthood. So just some questions to think about. What were your earliest emotional bonds with your caregivers? And how did these show up in your adult relationships? So basically, the theory is how we connected with our primary caregivers during our earliest years. Again, this is like birth to 3. So we're talking about earliest years, is how we will continue to connect with others throughout our lives. But we do have agency here, right? So if we can begin to recognize that this is how I'm attaching in adulthood, explore the roots of why that might be in childhood. Yes, hold up, I got distracted. Yes, yay. Yes, Lavendula has a YouTube channel, y'all, so please subscribe. Yes, I'm so excited. But yeah, so this will impact us, right? But we do have agency. And that's something Angela and I, again, we have a workshop coming up, January 23rd, 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern, Healing from Childhood Attachment Wounds. One of the things we want to emphasize is that you are not powerless in this, right? And you didn't have any control over your attachment style. You came here, you had the caregivers that you had, and that's how you developed your attachment style. So your level of control in this is 0. So it's important to recognize that and not take blame on yourself if something's wrong with you. No, these were the cards that you were dealt. And you have agency going forward in adulthood to realize how they're impacting you and seek out relationships that don't trigger those wounds, right? Because that's real. But yeah, I'm going to go through my notes here. So some causes of attachment trauma, and both of these articles that I'm pulling from are linked in the description. Some overt causes, right? Divorce, loss in the family, such as the death of a parent or sibling. Postpartum issues, we're talking about postpartum depression, psychosis even, physical neglect, abuse. If a caregiver has an illness, that could cause it. A caregiver having a substance use disorder or domestic violence. And so some covert causes of attachment trauma. Your caregivers could have been physically or emotionally unavailable. They could have experienced mental health difficulties such as PTSD, depression, anxiety. They could also have inherited trauma that they hadn't processed yet, right? Because they also had their attachment style that they had no control over coming into the world. So this is like where we talk about generational trauma, right? It kind of passes on from generation to generation. So that's real. Also, if your parent or caregiver had poor boundaries and treated you like more of a friend, that could cause attachment issues as well. But yes. Hey, yes. Hello, hello. Welcome. Yes. Merry New Year. Merry New Year to you as well. You're welcome, Lavendula. Yes. Let me know, is your handle at Lavendula? Because I'll link your channel in the chat so people can subscribe. Yes, yes. So again, these experiences happen in our early lives, right? Starting from birth to 3. It's really a pivotal period of development. When the bond we needed to form with our primary caregivers did not happen as it should have, or it happened incompletely. So again, this is something that you don't have control over. You enter into the world, again, with the caregivers that you have, with the cards that you're dealt, and you do the best that you can with them. So there's no shame or blame to internalize, right? That's important. And caregivers, it doesn't have to be parents, right? So not all of us grow up with our biological parents or people who are adopted. So that's real. So that's why we use the term caregivers instead of parents. But yeah, if your caregivers were physically or emotionally absent, and we know the pressures of living in a capitalist society, right? A lot of people have to go to work, especially right after birthing a child. We're pushed right back into the workforce, don't really have the time to bond, spend time with our children, right? So that's real. So these greater societal issues impact our interpersonal relationships, how we're able to raise, spend time with our children, and that impacts them throughout their entire lives. So these things are really real. Yeah. I'm just reading a quote from the article I'm pulling from. A child's early life experiences shape their adult life, and the relationship with their primary caregiver is among the most important for their development. So that's real. That's real. Because a lot of us will be in adulthood, enter into relationships, maybe relationships with a familiar pattern, and wonder why we keep entering into the same types of relationships that are not healthy for us. And that's often, more than not, rooted in childhood trauma. What was your attachment style to your caregiver? And we're going to get into like the 4 main categories too. But that's important to delve into those roots, right? Because the majority of our brain development occurs before age 8 or 9. So if you had a traumatic childhood, you're carrying that with you through your entire life. So that's why it's really important, yeah, to think about these things. But yeah, if y'all have any questions about the workshop that I can answer, please let me know. Again, this is just like an informal chat about what are childhood attachment wounds for those who may not know. Yeah, try to make this information as accessible, understandable as possible. The roots of it are basically you didn't have the bond that you should have had with your primary caregivers when you came here. So yeah, and that affects us in adulthood. Yes. So it's important to say that we come into this world completely relying on our primary caregivers to survive. We're babies, right? We can't do anything for ourselves. So we are completely reliant on our caregivers to survive. It's the basics of survival. So if that attachment had issues surrounding, physical, emotional unavailability, people who have experienced abuse, right? You're carrying that with you for years, for your entire life, but you also have agency to recognize where those wounds started, how you can move forward. And that's what we're going to talk about at the workshop, healing strategies, right? Healing strategies for this. Once you recognize it, it's not like you're doomed for the rest of your life. You have agency. You always have agency. Yeah. Thank you. I'm excited too. I'm nervous. I'm really nervous, but I'm excited. Yes. Yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yes. Nia, hello, hello. Welcome. Welcome. Yeah. Happy New Year, Gospel Girl 2012. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too. Yeah, it's my birthday month too, so I'm kind of trying to take it a little slow, a little slower. We'll see. Yes. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, something I wanted to constantly emphasize that Angela and I talk about. Again, I'll be co-hosting this workshop with Angela Kanu. She is originally from the UK. She lived in Australia. She's a social worker as well, but she lives in Mexico now. She's an emotional health coach, which is awesome. But yeah, she is an expert in this area. And I will not say that I'm an expert in this area at all. I'm still learning. But yeah, I am a social worker. So I have a master's degree in social work, but this was not my area of emphasis in my graduate program. So I'm learning a lot from her. So this is kind of like a collaborative opportunity. So yeah, we want to emphasize that absolutely none of the blame is on you for experiencing attachment wounds. None of it. You were a baby. I mean, that can't be said enough. You were a baby. You were a child. You came into the world and you had to rely on your caregivers for you to survive. And if that didn't go the way that it should have went, then you're experiencing these throughout childhood, throughout adulthood. And that's real, but you don't need any of the shame or blame for that. That's important. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Happy early birthday. Shout out to January babies. We out here. We out here. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I'm excited, y'all. It's the big 3-0. Uh-oh. Woo. Yes. But I'm excited. I'm excited and thankful. Thankful to make it to 30. But yeah, when that doesn't happen, right? So when that secure attachment does not happen in childhood, in from 0 to 3, right? A really critical period of development, you're the one who's harmed by that. And now you're tasked with surviving. And you're also tasked with healing from those attachment wounds as adults, as you begin to recognize how they're impacting you in adulthood. And it's not fair, right? It's not fair that we have to begin healing from these things that we did not cause, that we didn't have a choice in, the cards that we were dealt. Yeah. But you did survive. You survived. And that deserves to be celebrated. And now you can walk in with this understanding into adulthood, right? With a clear view of how these wounds impact you and how they show up in your everyday life. You have agency. You have agency in this. You can bring your awareness to how they're impacting you. You can tune into your body, which is one of the healing strategies listed in the article that I linked in the description. You can tap back into your body, right? Somatic healing, being aware of how your body is reacting to certain people, certain things. It's like certain situations. How can this be rooted in childhood? How can this be rooted in an attachment wound that I may have experienced with a primary caregiver? Right. And we'll get into in a second into the attachment styles too. But yeah. And I think it's also important to recognize generational trauma, right? Like I mentioned, epigenetics. So we carry trauma in our DNA. That is the field of epigenetics. We carry trauma in our DNA. In thinking about all of the generational trauma that has been passed for centuries through us, and how does that impact how we're interacting with our children, the time that we have to spend with them, the attachment wounds that we're carrying from generation to generation. How is this impacting us, right? I'm very inspired by, in social work, I had the opportunity to interact with many indigenous communities throughout the US, but they're focused on 7 generations, right? Always looking forward 7 generations. How is this going to impact 7 generations in the future? I think that's key as we begin to think about like the messages that we're sending, how we're caring for our children, the systems that we live in that make it impossible for us to do so, for us to spend the time that we need to bond and properly care for new people in this world who've never been here before. Yeah, that's key. Just looking through the comments, y'all. Do you have any plans for your birthday? I don't at the moment. No, I need to put something together, but no, I don't. But thank you for asking. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, your daughter is 30. Oh yeah. It's the big 3-0. I will say like a couple years ago, right? I was so scared of turning 30. No, it's kind of settled in. I'm like appreciative, grateful to reach that age. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Oh, yay. I'm so excited. Yes. Yes. So excited to see you there. Yes, again, we're having a workshop. I will be co-hosting with Angela Canu, January 23rd, Tuesday, January 23rd from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And the recording will also be emailed to everyone who registers if you can attend a live session. So that's also an option. Yeah, it is very unfair. It is. It absolutely is because we didn't choose this. We literally came to Earth and this is what we got. So none of that blame needs to be on us, none of the shame around, attachment wounds, attachment styles, because I do see like some shameful messages that I've been seeing, like, you should be ashamed of this. And like, it doesn't say that literally, but that's like the tone of it, rejecting that at all turns because you didn't have any part in this. Yeah. You survived and that deserves to be celebrated. Yes. It's true. It's true. You survived. You survived. That's huge. That's huge. Yeah. Because you didn't have the secure attachment, right? For those of us who didn't, and secure attachment is one of the attachment styles, one of the 4 attachment styles. But you didn't have that and you still survived. And you're still able to be at this point where you're recognizing how they're impacting you. That's huge. That awareness, coming to that awareness is huge. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 7 generations. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. When I first found out about that, I was like, that's major. Yes, a lot of indigenous nations in the US, because that's where the context I studied in, but will make decisions based on how is this going to impact people 7 generations in the future. So it's that long of a time horizon. Yeah. 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 Fiat says, yes, this is going to be a very important workshop. Thank you. Learning about our attachment wounds and how they impact every area of our lives is yes. Yes. I'm excited. I'm excited because, yeah, those early attachment wounds impact our entire lives. And as I have been learning about this, researching it, learning from Angela, I guess, people who have experienced attachment wounds in my life, those have been kind of popping up in my mind like, okay, maybe that's why they acted like that. Maybe that's why they exhibited these behaviors. So once you're able to identify the roots of this, a lot of the puzzle pieces start coming together. That's key. Mimi Slow Travel says, as we're having this conversation, I realize that I don't actually remember anything from when I was 3 years old or younger. So that's a whole other level of not understanding my attachment style. Yeah, yeah. And around 3 years old is where memories begin to form. Um, so that's normal. That's totally normal. Yeah, that's key of not understanding my attachment style. And we're going to have a quiz that we send out beforehand so you can get it kind of gauge what your attachment style may be before you even enter the workshop. So if you're not even aware of what it is, that may be helpful too. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. True. I don't remember a lot of my childhood either. Yeah. Yeah. I can relate to this. Dissociation was a way that I coped with a lot of the things that I experienced in childhood. And that impacts memory, right? It's your brain's way of like going into protection mode. Your brain loves you so much. It's like, I got to protect you from this experience that you're going through. So it kind of turns off certain parts. And one of those is memory. So I experienced that too. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Lavendula. I'm going to link your channel. Yes. Y'all, please follow Lavendula. Her new YouTube channel. I hope this is the right handle. Yes. Let's see. Yes. It has impacted every area of my life. Yeah. Gospel Girl 2012. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Mine too. Mine too. Yeah. Yeah. I had to learn about this while getting my integrated attachment theory certification. Okay. I love that. I love that. And yes, Viet also has a YouTube channel. Hopefully that's the right handle. If I'm messing up any of these handles, please tell me, y'all. Yes. They really do. They really do. Our brains really protect us. They do. Yeah. It's so amazing. Just getting into like neuroplasticity. That was another note I had here. Which means your brain can always rewire itself. You can actively rewire your brain. You can build new neural pathways in adulthood, even if you experience some of these things in childhood, right? The brain is just, the more I learn about the brain, I'm like, wow, it's amazing. There's so many parts, like, ooh, that's real. That is real. So yeah, just getting back to my notes. Yeah, those early years are pivotal. And I don't think there's enough attention given to what we experience in childhood literally impacts our entire lives. And that's why it's important to not cut off ourselves once we reach 18, as there is often pressure to do so. Just cut yourself off when you're 18 and now you're an adult and you're cutting off everything that you experienced in childhood. No, because that is informing how you're operating every day of your adult life. Yeah, so that's key. And just going to attachment styles, the four that we're going to be talking about. So secure. So this is the ultimate goal, right? The child's needs are met. Emotional and physical safety is consistent. The child doesn't have any fear that they're not going to have their emotional needs met. Their parent is going to get angry at them if they express a need. There is a level of mutual trust between caregiver and child. It's trusting in relationships, and you'll see this exhibited in adulthood, right? People with a secure attachment style are trusting, right? Just getting back to my other notes here. As adults, have trusting, lasting relationships. Again, this is the secure attachment style. Tend to have good self-esteem, share feelings with partners and friends, seek out social support. Right? So secure attachment style is the ultimate goal when you're raising children. Yeah. As children, so I think it's Mary Ainsworth who did a study of, read my notes here. The study involved observing children between the ages of 12 to 18 months, responding to a situation in which they were briefly left alone and then reunited with their mother. So this kind of led to the characteristics, right? As children, children with a secure attachment style separate from the parents, seek comfort from parents when frightened, greet the return of parents with positive emotions, and prefer parents to strangers. So that is the secure attachment style. Yes, neuroplasticity. I just love how that rolls off the tongue. Yes, neuroplasticity. Yes, yes. Yeah, your brain has the ability to make new neural pathways in adulthood. So that's why awareness is key. Once you're aware of these patterns, you can actively create new pathways in your brain. And that's why therapy is key for a lot of us, because therapy helps with that, right? Cognitive restructuring. That is a way to rewire your brain as adults. Deanna says, I feel like I only remember the bad parts of my child and very little of the good. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And I know that can be a symptom of trauma, right? Just only the bad memories. So yeah, that's real. That's real. And thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure a lot of us can relate to that. Mia X says, agreed. I have a 17 and 19-year-old. They're still babies, really. Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. This pressure to just cut ourselves off and like we're a whole new person and we didn't just experience 18 years of life and all of the experiences that came with that. And I've been thinking through why that is, especially, in Western societies, that I feel like it's to cut off, part of it is to cut off our imagination, right? And to just put us into this system of being workers in the system. I think it's a little bit deeper than that. I've been asking myself that. Why is there that pressure to forget our childhood? Like we didn't just go through all that. Over 18 years, as if that is not impacting us in adulthood. And we're just supposed to be put together, polished adults. It's real. It's real. Yeah. When we still travels, that's one of the reasons I'm so disgusted by older men going after young ladies. I don't care if she's 18 or not. Something about it is very perverse to me. Agreed. Yeah. Yeah, I have an issue with that. That is disgusting. That is. Yeah. Yeah. Disgusting, harmful. You're seeking out children, essentially, right? Because our brains are still developing at that age. It's gross. It's gross. I have a lot of thoughts on that. Okay, the other attachment style. Disorganized is another attachment style that we'll get into at a workshop on January 23rd. But this is when you've experienced high levels of unpredictability in your childhood. You couldn't find a safe response from your caregivers, right? A lot of up and down, a lot of fluctuation with emotions, with responses to when you expressed a need. And this may show up like having one foot in and one foot out in relationships, in adulthood, right? Kind of a fear to commit sometimes that may show up like that. Yes. Going to my notes. So in childhood, disorganized attachment characteristics may show a mixture of avoidant and resistant behavior, may seem confused or apprehensive, and then later on in childhood may take on a parental role, and some children may act as a caregiver toward the parent. So yes. So these children are described as displaying dazed behavior, sometimes seeming either confused or apprehensive in the presence of a caregiver. Yeah. So this can be a mix of anxious and avoidant attachment styles. Yeah. It is gross. It is gross. Yes, it is. Pursuing girls who are 18 when you are in your 30s, 40s and beyond, even your 20s, right? That's an issue. That's an issue. It is. And yes, it is gross. It is. Okay, another attachment style, anxious or preoccupied. So the child may have had to work to get their needs met, which we know is not the child's responsibility, right? You're not supposed to have to work to get your needs met as a child. That is supposed to be the responsibility of your caregiver. And again, we're dealt the cards that we're dealt when we come here. Yeah. So this may show up as people pleasing, issues of self-worth, feeling like the bottom is always going to drop out of a relationship, clinging on to unhealthy relationships out of fear of abandonment. So that's real. Yeah. Going over to my notes again. As children, may be wary of strangers, become greatly distressed when parents leave, do not appear comforted when parents return. As adults, reluctant to become close to others, worried that their partner does not love them, become very distraught when relationships end. Yeah. So that is how it might show up in adulthood. Yes. Yeah. Fia says, I had disorganized attachment pretty much all of my adult life until 3 years ago. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, and that awareness is key. That awareness is key, which we're going to get into in the workshop. How do you know which category you fall in? You may fall into several, right? Having that awareness and going forward and realizing how it may show up in relationships and what you can do about that, because you're not powerless in this. You're not powerless. It's not just like throw your hands up. Well, I have a avoidant attachment style. I guess that's just my life. Mm-mm. You have the power to implement strategies into your life as you're seeking out relationships, as you're healing and recognizing the roots. You have agency and power in that always. And that's something Angela and I want to emphasize during our workshop, right? You're not powerless. You're not. Yeah. Oh, yay. I'm so happy to hear that. Just registered, looking forward to it. I'm happy to hear that. Yes. And I'll be speaking with Angela on my channel next Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be discussing these issues together. So yeah, I'm excited. Boss Up Mama Community says, this was so me. I never wanted to commit to anyone for fear of being hurt. I wanted connection, but didn't know how to go about it in a healthy way. Yes. Can relate. Can relate. Yeah. Yeah. The fear of being hurt. Yeah. And it's interesting to see so many of these things, right, that we see play out in our relationships go right back to our caregivers. What attachment style do we have with them? What relationship do we have with them? Were we able to rely on them? Was it kind of wishy-washy? Did they get upset when we expressed a need? Right? And that goes into avoidant attachment style. So a child feels that expressing their needs could lead to anger or punishment from the caregiver, so they learn not to ask for help at all. And this can show up as hyper independence, feeling like you have to do everything yourself because you actually did at one point. So that's real. You did. It can cause you to emotionally detach in relationships in adulthood. And this is the avoidant or dismissive attachment style. Yeah. Just reading your comments here. Yes. Acting as a caregiver of a parent. Yeah. Yeah. That's real. That's real. Yeah. Because that's not the child's role, right? Our brains are literally not developed enough to be able to take care of someone else at such a young age. But unfortunately, that's the responsibility that is placed on a lot of us as children. And that's traumatic. That's traumatic. And it shows up in adulthood, right? Yeah. Amy Slow Travel says, people pleasing has had me in a chokehold since I was a child. Making progress, but those habits seem to pop up repeatedly. Me too. Me too. People pleasing is something that I am currently working through. So that's also something I want to emphasize. I am nowhere near like healed. I'm still working through a lot of this myself, learning about the roots, working through it every day, incorporating healing strategies into my own life that we're going to share with you at the workshop coming up. But yeah, it's a continuous process of learning, implementing things, trying things, realizing why certain situations may be triggering to you, what they may remind you of, right? And that's why it's important to reconnect with your body. What, like your body holds memories, right? The body keeps score. Is a book. I haven't read it yet. I need to. It's on my reading list. But yeah, the body holds memories. So you may be reacting to a situation because the body is being like, okay, this feels familiar to something I experienced, maybe even back like 5 years old. And that's why it's reacting like that. So tapping into your cues that your body is sending you is key. It's key to healing. Hello, Bountiful Billionaire AS. Hello, welcome. Happy New Year. Yeah. Yeah. That character limit gets me every time. Yep. Yep. Can't relate. Yeah. I'll be pasting stuff and I'm like, oop, that just got cut off. Yeah. Davin said, it's so interesting how these impact all relationships going into adulthood, especially romantic. That's key. That is key. Yep. Yep. And that's why it's so important, right? To recognize what attachment style you may be operating in. Because it can inform which partners you're attracted to, right? Because anxious attachment styles may be attracted to avoidant attachment styles. And that can create an unhealthy dynamic because you're seeking someone who's actively avoiding you. So that's where a lot of issues can pop up. So that's key. Mm-hmm. That is key. Okay, and I'm just going to go over some signs of attachment trauma. Along with relationship difficulties, signs you may be facing attachment trauma include a tendency towards shame, guilt, and humiliation, hyperreactivity to stress, hyperarousal, enmeshment. It may also be linked with mental health conditions like depression, anxiety, complex PTSD, borderline personality disorder, dissociative identity disorder. Yeah. And then healing attachment trauma, right? Which we're going to get into some fantastic healing strategies that Angela is going to cover at the workshop. But just to give y'all just a few notes on these. So you can find connections that provide strength, right? Once you're aware of your attachment style and how it may show up, you can kind of pivot your life in a direction where you're attracting people who don't trigger that within you. Because that's real. That's real. We can get into a pattern of trying to seek out relationships that are familiar to us that we experienced in childhood to try to get a different outcome. And that doesn't really work out that well. No from experience. No from experience. That really doesn't work out that well all the time. But once you have that awareness, yeah, you're welcome. Yes. Happy New Year. Yeah. I stay pursuing people who do not reciprocate. Yeah, almost trying to convince the person that I'm worthy enough to stay around for. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that's relatable. That's relatable. Yep. Trying to convince the person that I'm worthy enough to stay around for. Yeah. Mm, yeah. And I'm sending you love. I'm sending you love. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Some other healing strategies. Consider working with the body, right? So the body holds the key to healing a lot of the times. If we can get into somatic healing, mindfulness, breath work, grounding techniques, right, help sometimes with this. When you notice that you're being triggered and you're able to connect it to the awareness, okay, this might be an attachment wound that's being triggered right now. You can come back into your body, right? Walking, yoga, anything that brings you back into your safe. You're safe in your body. Being mindful, right? It might look like meditation, journaling, voice noting. These are all ways that can help to heal from these things. And also therapy. Therapy is a really great tool for healing attachment wounds, working through them. Again, rewiring your brain as you're recognizing that you're experiencing these symptoms, getting into a supportive therapeutic relationship where the therapist is able to work with you through these issues, revisit some of these childhood wounds, which is not always easy. Actually, it's really hard. It's really hard to have to go back to these places sometimes. So I want to be real about that. It is. It is. And a lot of us don't have time or space because, again, these systems that we live in do not allow us time to really sit with how has this traumatized me and how is it showing up. So even having the time and space to sit with that, that's a privilege. Unfortunately, in these systems that we live in. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Gospel Girl 2012. Ooh, it feels like home, even if it hurts. Yeah. Yeah. That's a powerful sentence. That's a powerful sentence. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's really hard. Um, Therapy is hard. As someone who has been through therapy with multiple therapists, some who were not the best, right? And that's key to seek out a therapist who makes you feel good about what you're doing. As a social worker, right, I have the letters behind my name, but I'm still a person. So you may encounter people with letters behind their names, but they're people with biases and personalities and all these other things. So that's key. So to be in a supportive therapeutic relationship where you're able to work through these things that are hard, it is hard to revisit it. It is because these are traumatic experiences that we're having to relive. We're having to go back and think about the things that we've suppressed, right? The things that our brains have kind of shut off and blocked the memory of to help us survive. This is hard. This is hard. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about at the workshop. And we have like an intro email before the workshop. Just letting people know that this is hard stuff, right? This can be triggering. These are deep emotional wounds sometimes. We're talking all the way back to birth. So this is not a light topic. This is not a light subject. And it's important to have compassion and grace with yourself as you're dealing with this, as you're navigating it, as those memories are coming back to you, right? Because as we begin to heal, some of the memories that we didn't even remember, they come flooding back. So it's important to be prepared for that and to have a strategy in place. Yeah, because this is heavy. This is heavy stuff. Fiat says, ooh, that's a great quote. So very hard, but worth it. But worth it. Because once you get to the other side, right? I think it's like a continuous journey in my mind. But once you get through that, it's like you have all of these strategies in place. You have an awareness of yourself, of your family system that you grew up in, how they're impacting you, what relationships to seek out in the future. So now you have all this information that's pivotal as you're going into adulthood that you didn't have before. So it is worth it. I completely agree with that. It is. But it is hard, right? Duality. Yeah. 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 Oh, okay. I had a black male therapist tell me that it was unrealistic and it didn't make sense for me to fear the risk of SA. Sir, all the evidence says it's unrealistic to not have that possibility in mind. Yeah, that's infuriating. That is absolutely infuriating. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah. Not all therapists are the same, right? I have had therapists, to be honest, gaslight me when I shared with them something that happened to me. Gaslight me. Sit there and gaslight me with their advanced degrees. So that's real, right? A degree doesn't make you a good person. And I'm sorry that you went through that. So it's important to try out different therapists, right? Therapy is an essential healing tool. I still absolutely believe that, but it's important to try it out, right? If someone says something to you like that, it's like, I don't think you're safe. I don't think you're supportive for me to be sharing these deep emotional wounds with you. You're not creating that environment for me to be able to do that. That's infuriating. hmm Yeah. Therapists are still human. That part. Therapists are still human. Yep. Yeah, I'm sorry. Ooh, right? And that's a another conversation, but it's real. We go into these therapy settings, and I'm very cognizant of the power that letters hold. So when I talk, like, I'm very cognizant of how people view MSW when I speak, and I'm aware of that. But when you enter into these relationships, think you're going to be safe, right? With all the letters, with all the degrees, and then they say something like that, that puts a lot of us off from therapy, right? Because the courage to even enter into these relationships, we know the stigma that exists when it comes to seeking therapy. So the fact that you're able to get to that point and then have someone say something like that, yeah, that's horrible. And I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh, the audacity. When he asked if I wanted to schedule a follow up. Oh, me soul travels. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah. You should not have had to experience that at all. No. Donna O'Neill says, I'm writing letters to my inner child and things being revealed is vexing and disappointing, but necessary. Ooh, yeah, yeah. Letters to your inner child. Powerful, powerful. Yeah, that was an exercise that we did in the garden, I think, which is Alicia Renice's community. But yeah, reconnecting with your inner child, going back. Who was I? Because that's who you still are. You may have had to cut those parts of yourself off to survive a lot of the times. You can still go back and get them, right? They're not permanently cut off. You can go back and retrieve those parts of yourself. Who were you when you were younger? Because we're often under all this pressure to become a completely different person when we become an adult. Just someone who's like a shell of who we really are. So yeah, letters to your inner child. That is a great healing strategy. Thank you for sharing that with us, Donna. Yeah. Yeah. Bountiful billionaire. Oh gosh, thank you for bringing these concepts and solutions to light, Marissa. It helps to know what and how to heal. You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad. I'm glad. Y'all, I was nervous. I'm always nervous when I touch social work, mental health topics, again, because the social work field, right, the pressure to have all the letters, all the designations, all the certifications, it's real. It's real. And it can lead to like feeling like I'm not qualified to talk about this, but getting to the point where the things I've experienced from social work professors, which is a whole other life, being taught by people who have absolutely no understanding of these issues, but have all the letters, have all the credentials. I'm like, why can't I? Why can't I? Because I would never say some of the stuff I've heard uttered to me in social work classrooms when it comes to these issues. The complete lack of care and understanding and compassion for the people you serve. It's appalling. So yeah. Getting to the point, recognizing that no, I can talk about these issues. And I'm learning from Angela, who I'm co-hosting the workshop with on January 23rd, because she is an expert. She worked in childhood social work in Australia. So yes, I'm excited. Donna says, good point. We're under so much pressure to become a different person when we become an adult. It's true. It's true. To just leave all of those parts of yourself behind, as if we can do that, as if we become a whole new person at 18 and we're just supposed to be unaffected by all the experiences that we've had throughout our entire lives. That doesn't make sense to me. It does not make sense to me. Okay. Let's see, royal tree. Is it possible that teenagers are aware and have some form of trauma? Absolutely. Yes. Are aware? Yes. Yep. I think being a teenager, that's when I begin to start like those initial thoughts of, maybe some of the stuff I experienced like in childhood is impacting me now. So that's true. Yeah. Yep. And I think we tend to downplay how aware children can be of what they're experiencing, how aware you can be when you're a teenager. You don't have to reach adulthood to then become aware. It's like, no, we have this, we may not have the words for it or the language for it, but we know how it feels. We know how it feels. Yeah. Yeah. Just getting back to my notes, y'all. Okay. So this is again pulled from one of the articles I linked in the description, but how will you know when you're healing from attachment trauma? So here are some indicators. You're on the right path. You feel safe in your body. You're practicing boundary setting. You trust your intuition. Your behavior is consistent with your values or beliefs. You respond rather than react. Right? So that's key. A lot of us are still operating in trauma mode. The mode that our brains went in to protect us whenever we were going through what we were going through, we're still operating that. We never got out of it. So the more that we can be aware of how we're operating, incorporate healing strategies into our lives, that's key. Because we don't have to live like that in a constant trauma response. There are other options. And education is key, awareness is key, seeking out healing strategies, and safe people, safe community is key. You're welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you for that question. That was a great question. Yes. Yeah. Okay, Mimi Soul Travel says, thanks, y'all. Fortunately, even though he irritated my soul, I was able to acknowledge that he was the messed up party in that when I didn't internalize it. Ooh, yes. You didn't internalize whatever he was doing over there. Key. Yeah. Externalize people's behaviors. That's huge. And that has been key on my healing journey, right? They're going through whatever they're going through. It has nothing to do with me. Because a lot of times I would try to be like, okay, so something that I'm doing has to be. No, they're just not great people sometimes. Or they're going through whatever they're going through and they're trying to process it. Externalizing that is really, really key. Yeah. Because not everything is about us. Right? Some people can be rude to you, dismissive, whatever that was that therapist was trying to do, like, and they may be going through their own stuff, but it has nothing to do with us. We don't have to take that in. We don't. We can use that brain space for something else. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. See, just looking back at my notes here. Okay. And just want to read a quote. So the research indicated, and I believe this is Bowlby, his research indicated the best predictor of adult attachment style was the perceptions that people have about the quality of their relationships with their parents, as well as their parents' relationship with each other. And let me make sure I'm quoting the right person here. I think this was a later research study done. But that's true, like how you view your relationship that you had with your caregivers or your parents can be a predictor of your adult attachment style. And again, these are linked in the articles that I have in the description if you want to check them out. But yeah, Bowlby also proposed 3 propositions about attachment theory. So factors that influence attachment styles: consistent care leads to trust. He suggested that when children are raised with confidence that their primary caregiver will be available to them, they're less likely to experience fear than those raised without such conviction. Also, early experiences are critical. He believed this confidence is forged during a critical development period, infancy, childhood, and adolescence. The expectations formed during that period tend to remain relatively unchanged for the rest of the person's life. So we're talking about your entire life, how you're viewing the world, how you're interacting with other people, but your whole life formed in such a small period when you first come here. So those experiences are critical to examine if you're entering back into relationship patterns that are not healthy, that don't serve you. It's key to explore those early wounds that you may have experienced. And also, expectations stem from experiences. Finally, he suggested that these expectations that are formed are directly tied to experience. In other words, children develop expectations that their caregivers will be responsive to their needs because in their experience, their caregivers have been responsive in the past. Yeah. So the behavior that they have exhibited, you expect that to continue, right? Inform future experiences, which can lead to in adulthood expecting people to operate, I guess, like your caregiver did or didn't. That's real. Yeah. Hey. Yes. Welcome. Happy New Year. You're welcome. Okay. Yes. I hope they're helpful. So this is good to hear. Yes. Yeah. Deshaun Burns, hello. Just checking in, gotta catch a replay. Yes. Yeah, good to see you. Happy New Year. Yeah. Okay. I think that was all my notes for today. As we're hitting an hour mark. But yeah, I would love to see you if you can make it at my upcoming workshop, co-facilitated with Angela Canoe. She is a social worker as well and an emotional health coach. Originally from the UK, she lived in Australia, and now she's in Mexico. She's an entrepreneur, online entrepreneur too. But yeah, we're going to be talking about healing from childhood attachment wounds on January 23rd from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And the recording will also be sent out to anyone who registers if you can't make it live during that time. But yeah, we'll be providing healing strategies, more information about the different types of attachment styles, um, healing resources right after the workshop. So yeah, all of these things. I'm excited. I'm excited. You're welcome. Yes. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. Yeah, you're very welcome. And I find, hey, yes, I'm super late. Thanks for this live. I'll watch the replay. This topic discussion is so needed. You're welcome. You're welcome. And no, you're fine. You're fine. Good to see you here. Happy New Year. Can't wait to the workshop. Yay! I'm excited. I hope to see y'all there. Again, if you can make it, I'll also be talking live with Angela next Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern on my channel. And we will be talking about this very topic. So stay tuned for that announcement. But until then, I hope you'll have a beautiful rest of your day. Until next time, y'all. Hope this was helpful. See ya. Bye. Thank you.